Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel. In this short video we're going to discuss events that took place during the previous 12 hours, and the most important one are coming from Belarus. Today the Minister of Defense of Russian Federation, Shoigu, visited Republic of Belarus, and he had a meeting with the Minister of Defense of Republic of Belarus, and as a result of that meeting they signed a lot of very interesting paper, and now the Russians are going and are able to deploy their nuclear weapon, not strategical nuclear weapon, on the territory of Belarus. Probably in the very near future the Russians are going to do this, and probably this is the answer to the words of Polish authorities, which yesterday discussed the possible meetings and possible strike on the territory of Belarus within the next year. And the Polish authorities reported that if such meetings are going to take place in Belarus next year, then the Poland military forces need to support the Belarus forces, who is going to fight against the president of Belarus, of Republic of Belarus, and legal authorities of this country. More updates are coming from Ukraine. As you can see, there are a lot of icons of explosions. During the previous night, the Russians made another wave of drone attack in direction of western part of Ukraine. Furthermore, the Russians were attacking Kyiv using drones, and also the Russians were attacking, as usually, Kharkiv, but not with drones, probably with Iskander missiles. And the Ukrainians are saying that as a result of air defense work, they managed to destroy almost every single drone. They're saying that they destroyed every single drone during the previous night. And the most important and the most interesting part of that attack is that, as you can see, the Ukrainians destroyed the drones just above the territory, mainly just above the territory of the western part of Ukraine. So as you can see, they allowed the Russians drones to bypass almost the southern and the central part of Ukraine, and just in the western part they destroyed those drones. The thing is that probably the Ukrainians do have air defense system in the central and the southern part of Ukraine, but they take a decision not to use those air defense system because of the risk of being discovered by the Russians intelligence and so on. So this is the tactic that the Ukrainians currently use against the Russians' attacks. They're not attacking and they're not shutting down the drones in the central, in the northern, in the eastern part of Ukraine, and they allow them to get the western part, and only after that they're making an attempt to shut down them. Probably they do have possibilities to secure their air defense system against the Russian daggers just in the western part of Ukraine, or at least the chances of being destroyed by the daggers in this part of Ukraine is the lowest. When talking about Kharkiv, we understand that almost every single day the Russians reports about the missiles attack, drones attacks, and almost all the time the Russians are able to get the target. So probably when talking about Kharkiv and the vicinity of this town, the Ukrainians don't have possibilities to shut down the Russian missiles and the Russian drones. And this is a very big problem for the Ukrainians, and the only solution the Ukrainians have how to secure and to protect their vehicles, armored vehicles, their forces, is to accumulate them and stretch them among civilians, among Kharkiv and among the residential area. And the same situation we can say about Dnipro and about Zaporozhye. These towns are located on the combat line, and the Ukrainians use them to hide their forces, to accumulate forces, but we can see that the Ukrainians don't have possibilities to secure these forces in this town against the Russian missiles. So this is the problem that Ukrainians are currently working on, trying to find a solution how to secure the forces that located on the combat line. Now we're moving to Bakhmut, and today we got a video from the head of Wagner's Prigozhin saying that currently he take a decision to evacuate. Not he take a decision, this decision was taken a few days ago on the 21st of May. But today, based according to Prigozhin, Wagner started the final evacuation and rotation of their forces from this town. So probably within the next few months we are not going to see Wagners on the combat line, maybe just a few separate squads who will make just a small tactical operations based on the contracts with the Ministry of Defense of Russian Federation. But we can say for 100% that Wagners are leaving Bakhmut, and today the DPR, not even today, yesterday and this morning, the DPR forces have entered this town, the Russian regular army have entered this town, and the Russians took a decision not to wait like months or weeks or something like this. The Russians started their offensive operation immediately in direction of the living roads on the north and on the south. And this morning we got the first update that, according to the Ukrainian sources, the Ukrainians took a decision to leave the area in the vicinity of Khromova under the pressure of Russian forces, of Russian main forces. So probably today we're going to see update that Khromova have fallen, and the Russians will develop their bridgehead in this area. Furthermore, the Russians continue, not the Wagners, but the Russian main forces started advancing in the vicinity of the railroad ways, along the railroad ways in direction of Bogdanovka. So probably after a small operational pause on the Bakhmut front line, the next we are going to see the activation, intensifying of action from the Russian side, and probably the main Russian forces will start advancing in this area. To tell the truth, I didn't expect that. I thought that the Russians were not going to do this, but currently the first facts and the first updates are saying the opposite. The Russian army will continue advancing and will continue pushing in direction of Chasov Yar. And that's it for this short update. Military Summary channel reminds you to condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching, subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.